Hello and welcome to this lesson on the COUNTIF function in Excel. Now this lesson is going to be a dual purpose really, because I want to show the COUNTIF function, which is a really useful function of Excel, but I'm also going to use it to showcase the function wizard as a way of providing more information on functions and also maybe troubleshooting a function. So let's start off with the COUNTIF function, and I've got this basic example of attendees on screen. I have some names and then a simple yes or no. Are they coming? Are they not? And then next to that, I would like to populate these with the relevant numbers really. And should it change, like Louise Jennings suddenly says yes, then my formulas will auto update over here. Now I'm going to use a function called COUNTIF to achieve this. Now there's a great group of functions in Excel. You've got COUNTIF, you can see one called COUNTIFs below. We have SUMIF, AVERAGEIF, and these are really useful because they allow us to bring conditions into our aggregates. So COUNTIF will allow us to count the number of cells if something is the case. So I want to count only the ones that say yes. I'll start it off like any other function. COUNTIF opening bracket, 2 arguments, both are mandatory. First one is the range of cells that you're testing, and that will be this range of yes/no responses, known to Excel as B3 to B11. Now at this point, when I'm finished with this function, what I'm hoping to do is copy it to the cell below to return how many people said no. And because of that, I know that I really need to fix that cell range. Now we spoke about this in the previous lesson. Remember the shortcut key is F4. It is function key F4. So in that goes, and now I know that if I copy that to the cell below, that will stay B3, B11, and will not change to B4 to B12, which it would otherwise. Comma, criteria. Now I've got 2 ways of entering this. I can either enter it within speech marks, these kind of double inverted commas found above the number 2 of a UK keyboard. Some of these characters can move around with different keyboard layouts. And I could just simply type yes within those double inverted commas, as double quotes, which indicate text in Excel. Whoops. So those inverted commas would indicate that it's text inside, a literal string, so to say. And that's one way I could do it. Another way, the way I'm going to choose, is I'm just going to click on the cell next to my formula, to the left of my formula, known as D3 here, because that's got yes written inside it. And I'm not going to use dollar signs, because when I copy that formula to the cell below, E4, I want that to move to D4, because that's going to have no written in. So all being well, what do we have? We've got 3, 4, 5, 6. When I press enter, we get the answer 6. I've got 3 no's in there. So if I click on that cell and copy it down, it picks up the 3 no's. But most important of all, I mentioned about if Louise was to turn up, then I type in yes, and it goes to 7 and 2. And let me just undo that little change I made. So it's now automatically updating a COUNTIF function, counts the number of cells based on a condition, like if it says yes, if it says no. And that is it in action there. Now I have another sheet at the bottom called numbers. And I've got a similar setup. Now imagining that we have exam results. And let's imagine that the pass mark is 75%. So what I now want to do is count how many of the cells in this range, how many of the values are 75% or better. And then the fouls will be those less than 75%. So in cell E3, I could write my COUNTIF function in the usual manner. And the range of cells is actually the exact same range as the previous example. And I'm going to affix it or make it absolute, comma. Now for the criteria this time, I would need my logical operators. I need more than or equals 75%, my imaginary pass mark. So it has to be more than or the same as 75%. You know, I could answer this just by asking it. But that's the way I like to say it. I like to know if it's greater than or equal to 75. Now if I ran with that, if I put my closed bracket and ran with that, I would be prompted for a mistake in my formula. So I've done something wrong, and I want to imagine that I don't know what that is. And sticking with Excel, I want to see how Excel could help me. Yes, I could Google this, I could maybe use YouTube, look for a course on Skillshare, get a book, call a friend. There's many ways I can do this. I want to see what Excel offers. Now one thing you might notice is it puts my insertion point just before that greater than sign. So it doesn't matter where I click in this formula, if I try and run it, it goes wrong, and it puts me back there. So it's clearly trying to say that there's something missing in there. Now what I'm going to do is click my FX button up next to the formula bar next to my formula, and that will trigger what's called the function wizard. So here I'm in this function arguments dialog. I can see it's providing a little bit more information below as to what I need in order to do this, and it's very clear now that the problem's with the second area. That red invalid is, you can't really miss that. Now it provides a little bit of help here. It's not amazingly useful. Some of the words they use are not always that easy to understand even for the best of us. But I can click this link in the bottom as well, help on this function, and that will take me to Microsoft Help, providing even further assistance with this function, and that really can be useful. So just open up on my screen here and connecting via my Wi-Fi. You'll get a local copy of the help even if you don't have internet connection when you use this. It's just trying to load up a video here. But now I get this tons more information on that function about what these two arguments mean, and it probably doesn't take much scrolling before you spot an example like that. And we can see how it says, look, there's different ways you can put in a criteria, a required argument. You could put in a number like 32. You could put in text in speech marks like apples. So that's kind of like our previous example of yes and no. You could refer to a cell, also like my previous example where I referred to the word yes next to me. And there were other ways to put your comparison, but in speech marks. So that's what we're missing. Now I could put them in here, or I could go back to my formula and do that. I might as well write them while I'm in here. And as I write this, I can also see it returning the answer and show me what I'm doing to the right. So just a little bit more assistance in this wizard than what you get when you're on your own in the cell. It's not as quick as typing in the cell, which is why throughout this class that's what I've done, and it's probably what you're going to see your colleagues and your friends do as well. But you do get more assistance here, a bit more help. It's great if you're a little bit rusty with a function or you're new to a function. And if I click OK, I'll get what I want. The answer is 6, and I'll probably just copy that to the cell below, double click on that second cell, and I'm going to tweak the criteria for this one to be less than 75. So 6 people have passed apparently. 1, 2, let's say 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, and less than 75% is 3. Naturally, because there's 9 of them there. And there we have it. No equal sign this time. It has to be less than 75 to be a fail. 75 or higher is a pass. And that is both the COUNTIF function, a really, really useful Excel function, but also seeing that function wizard for giving that a little bit more assistance, checking out Excel help as well. A lot of information in that help. Although we have the likes of Google and that in our lives, you kind of can't take that out of the equation. Very, very useful to get the job done with our Excel formulas and functions.